Australian and global greenhouse gas emissions are at an unsustainable rate and will lead to catastrophic consequences if left unaddressed. Buildings make up over 50% of these greenhouse gas emissions. Further to this, society is becoming better educated with relation to environmental sustainability and is showing measurable preferences towards sustainable houses, even if these buildings are more costly. The environment that we depend on for life support in society are demanding that buildings be constructed in a carbon neutral manner. However, the problem is that to date, G.J. Gardner has not addressed these demands. To assist G.J. Gardner in addressing this problem, we will present the findings of a systemic life cycle energy assessment of home construction, present solutions to the problem, discuss how to manage the interests of various stakeholders, and finally rate the solution against the 5 key sustainability metrics as identified by Goldwyn, Kennelly and Krauss. Life cycle assessments in construction can be hugely complex, as there are so many components that must be considered. Ramesh, Prakash and Shukla conducted a study that evaluates the building life cycle carbon construction by measuring its energy spend over 3 distinct phases of the life cycle. Phase 1 is the manufacturing phase. This includes the energy required for raw material mining and quarrying, the production of building materials, transport, actual construction of the buildings, and renovations. It accounts for approximately 5% of the building's life cycle energy use and carbon contribution. Phase 2 is the use phase, which is when the building is occupied and lived in. This phase includes heating, ventilation, air conditioning, hot water supply, powering appliances, and lighting. According to the Environment Protection Authority in Victoria, the average house produces 18 tonnes of greenhouse gas emissions per annum. 792 trees would be required to counteract each one of our house emissions. Since G.J. Gardner builds thousands of non-carbon neutral homes per annum, it would take millions of new trees to be planted every single year to counteract these emissions. The total life cycle contribution of the usage phase does change, depending how the length of the building's life. However, on average, it accounts for approximately 90% of the energy use and carbon contribution of the building. Phase 3 is the demolition phase. It takes into consideration the demolition of the building, transport of waste, plant recycling, and landfills. Similar to Phase 1, it accounts for approximately 5% of the life cycle energy use and carbon contribution. As we can see from the systemic life cycle analysis, the overwhelming majority of greenhouse gas contributions occur during the usage phase of the building. Therefore, addressing Phase 2 effectively will be critical if we are to successfully achieve carbon neutral home buildings. Stakeholders. For the purpose of this presentation, we have separated the stakeholders into 3 main levels. The first level is made up of G.J. Gardner owners and directors, as well as purchasers of the houses. We refer to this level as influencers of change. The company owners and directors have a responsibility to themselves and other stakeholders to run the business in a sustainable fashion. Traditionally, they have focused on financial sustainability. Thus, financial motivations must be addressed clearly in addition to the environmental and social sustainability in order to convince them to actualize the vision. Buyers are already showing a preference towards sustainable housing and a willingness to spend money for it. Having said this, money is still identified as the biggest barrier for buyers. Thus, environmental benefits as well as financial return of investment must be communicated effectively to potential buyers. The second level of stakeholders is made up of franchisees, project managers and trades personnel. Similar to G.J. Gardner's directors and owners, its franchisees have a responsibility to themselves and other stakeholders to run the business in a sustainable fashion. As their business focus on short-term profitability of each and every build, they too share a technocentric financial focus. Financial concerns and motivations must be addressed clearly in addition to environmental and social sustainability to be able to rely on their cooperation. Project managers and trades personnel will need to be selected and educated in sustainable development. This could be achieved through instruction from specialists recruited by head office. Sales staff will also require an education on the sustainable development with a focus on financial, social and environmental benefits. The final level of stakeholders we refer to as followers and beneficiaries. It includes other property development groups who will be encouraged to follow our movements into sustainable developments, local community members who will be made more aware of sustainability through our actions and environment through our reduced air pollutants. Our solution is for G.J. Gardner Homes to develop zero-carbon home design offerings, with the vision of progressively moving towards having all their homes being designed carbon neutral. As we have identified through our stakeholder review, to effectively achieve this, GJ Gardner will need to recruit sustainability specialists at head office to educate the team nationwide. Cost analysis show the additional cost in developing a carbon neutral property ranges between $4,024 and $12,333 depending on the type of building. Guanreri found in their study that carbon neutral homes have an increased capital value of 7.5%. Given the average house price of $300,000, this equates to $22,500 increase in building value. This equates to an instant capital return of investment for owners of between 182% and 559%, depending on the property type. According to data from the Department of Energy and Water Supply, the annual savings for occupants of a carbon neutral home will be $1,845. This results in a per annum return of investment of between 15% and 46%, or assuming a lifetime of 50 years for the building, a total lifetime return of between 750% and 2,300%. Bond and Devine found in their study that sustainable housing provides an increased rental yield of 8.9%. According to a 2016 study by Hill and Sved, the average rent is $18,250. Therefore, increases to rental returns per annum will range from 13% to 40%, with a lifetime return of investment of between 650 and 2,000%. Detailed instructions on how to build carbon neutral homes are readily available from reputable sources, such as the ones currently on the screen. Australia currently has the worst rates of first home ownership that it's had in history, and the second worst home prices versus income ratio on the planet. Thus, even with these exceptional return of investments, many people still may not be able to afford the increased costs. To address these circumstances, GJ Gardner Homes may want to evaluate additional sustainable building methods, such as shipping container buildings that can see the cost of construction drop from the average $1,183 per square metre to as little as $300 per square metre. Instructions on buildings using shipping containers can be found at reference on screen. Inclusiveness. Currently, buildings account for 50% of global greenhouse gas emissions. As the world population continues to grow, so too will its building emissions, which spells disaster for every part of our global system. This vision identifies and focuses on building components of the building system that are crucial to global sustainability. These include a workforce with sustainable expertise, building the demand for sustainable housing in the community, acting as an example to society, and making mainstream carbon neutral housing designs. Connectivity. Our organisation and industry paradigms have traditionally been around relatively short-term profits. We develop a building, then usually within a few years we have realised a profit. This paradigm has been a barrier to the implementation of carbon neutral buildings. However, with advancements in sustainable building practices, this conflict no longer exists. Building sustainability allows us to improve air quality, reduce waste material pollutants, ensure people have safe homes that will act as a constant reminder to the community that sustainability must become a way of life for everyone. Carbon neutral housing has proven not only to be of value to the society, the environment and our communities, but yield a greater financial return as well. By taking a longer term systemic view, we will realise that continued economic performance is impossible without entire system sustainability. Our homes have the potential to serve as a symbol of systemic connectivity and the importance of sustainability within the community. This symbol to society is important, as we all need to help drive a paradigm change. Environmental sustainability will take all of society to achieve. If the environment is neglected and ice caps melt, for example, we could lose entire coastal cities, which could be hugely financially detrimental to our organisation. Whilst understanding and managing our ecological impact is crucial, we cannot simply ignore financial sustainability. Rather, for this solution to work, we must be willing to invest in our own education and that of our employees, so we can ensure economical, social and environmental success of our business and industry. Equity. Building sustainable homes will allow us to more fairly utilise resources. Our houses and the occupiers will be seen as contributing to the world's shared property. Our competitors, who continue to build unsustainably, are forcing future generations into covering the cost of their methods, whilst we will be publicly seen as investing into our shared environment for both current and future generations. This acknowledgement of equal rights to our planetary resources will continue to become more valued within the market. By continually investing in zero carbon home construction, we will be perfectly positioned to take advantage of the growing increase in sustainable housing prices. Prudence. We need to establish an organisational paradigm that supports continued progress with sustainable building practices. Having targets of a neutral impact is a good start, but not sufficient in the long term. We must strive to make positive contributions towards replenishing our life-supporting ecosystems and socio-economic systems. We achieve this by setting examples within society, by ensuring our constructions are financially beneficial for all stakeholders, and testing methods for replenishing natural resources such as oxygen-producing paint. We must also strive to continually improve the cost-effectiveness of sustainable building methods. Taking this precautionary stance will protect us against unforeseen circumstances. Security. Switching to sustainable construction practices will help safeguard socio-economic and environmental life support systems. It will move our buildings away from reliance on fossil fuels and towards self-serving renewable energy. By transitioning this to solutions, we can significantly reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. This will maintain critical life-supporting systems such as global temperatures. As the industry transitions towards carbon-neutral housing, non-sustainable housing will begin to devalue. Thus, transitioning and gaining expertise in sustainable construction as early as possible will provide security from future losses. Finally, we would like to recognise the other land and water pollutants that result from house building. We recommend a systemic review of these issues also be conducted, and solutions to these issues are developed prior to finalising any new home building designs.